Hey guys, Gary Dean, GMFD Audio. I want to show you how to properly install sound deadening material. Now there's lots of different options on the market and it's not a complicated process, but I still see people asking in the groups that I'm in how to apply sound deadener properly. Now again, the only thing you need to look for is making sure that the surface is free of debris, and the tar paper, if you will, with the aluminum backing will work no problem. I don't really have a bias between brands. I ended up with some Hushmat years and years ago to do a project on my ADL Camino, which we're going to do more projects with that. It's actually getting a system as well. But the first order of business is getting this base car up and running so that I can start to compete in these shows this year. So as far as applying the sound deadening material and what you should buy, I'm using Hushmat. It seemed to be a decent product at the time. I recently did more research before I ordered another case because I only had 12 sheets left from the El Camino project. So I bought another case of, I think, 20 sheets. I have used 13 or 14 sheets so far in the trunk of my base car, which is a 98 Honda Civic. And I just thought maybe you guys would like to know how I'm installing it. And when it comes to how to properly install, it's all subjective to what you're doing and who you prefer to get your information from. So let me show you where we're at. So just real quick, I have already installed sound deadening material, the Hushmat, in this whole area back in there, and then this whole area back in there. It has one whole layer on everything, and then I put one sheet right in the center there, and then another sheet right there. I used 2 sheets to do this back area, and I got 3 sheets on the bottom. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you how I apply the sound deadening material. First order of business is to grab I like to use microfiber towels. Of course, I own a detailing product line at detailjuice.com. That's what I do for a living. So I got a microfiber towel. I also have, this is a dirty towel from earlier, but this is 70% isopropyl alcohol. And when I'm doing my sound deadening material, I always like to wipe the surface down with isopropyl alcohol so that it is free of debris and the sound deadening material will stick a lot better. So basically just put some isopropyl alcohol on your towel and go over. We're gonna pretty much, on the trunk lid here, we're gonna stay right inside the lines, if you will. So we're gonna stay inside of these wires. We're gonna stay pretty much inside of the hinge here, and then I'm gonna go around the lights. You can see there's a piece here. I actually had a actuator installed in this so that I have remote trunk pop. But yeah, so just clean the surface really well. You can see all this crap that's on the surface. You just want to clean it off. And if you do it this way, the sound deadening material, any brand, well, pretty much any brand. I haven't tried them all. I've used Dynamat. I have used Killamat, I think is what it's called. Stuff on Amazon. It works okay. It's thinner than the Hushmat, but that's why it's cheap. So anyway, first order of business, wipe everything down with isopropyl alcohol and make sure that the sound deadening material is going to stick. And that's what matters there. And that's where we're at. So that's all clean. Now I've got my case of Hushmat right here. I'm going to start applying it to the underside of this trunk lid. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a sheet of the Hushmat. You are going to want a roller as well of some sort. This one I got on Amazon. I think it was $8 or $9. It works pretty good. What makes the brands different is the thickness of this actual this tar paper, if you will. So basically, you could go to Home Depot and get some is it roofing materials? They sell this, but it's super thin. It's about half the thickness of the tar material. So it's basically aluminum foil with tar on it. And so you take the backing off, and then this side that the backing was on is sticky. So the first order of business is kind of trying to line it all up and just stick it on where you can get it to go. Is basically how this works. So you lay out the one sheet, and depending on where you're trying to end up with it, I don't want any to stick out beyond what you see here, so, or I'm sorry, I don't want anything, I should explain that better. When I shut the trunk, I don't want you to see any Dynamat on the edge of the trunk lid. So, got a razor blade. I'm going to go ahead and just cut it right here. Make sure you don't cut into your paint. But I just want to make sure that nothing is seen when I shut the trunk lid. So all your scraps can be used in corners and random spots where, I guess I might as well trim that as well. It's not going to make any difference. You just don't want to see it after it's installed. You want it to do its job and not be an eyesore. All the scraps can be used in small spots, so just remember that. None of this stuff should ever get thrown away. So, like I mentioned, you are going to need a roller. So basically, you're just going to try to get it. I mean, even if you've got to go in, and I use I have some panel popping tools, and a lot of times I'll go into the edges with this. And if it breaks or pops through, that's fine. You can put another layer on if you want. But mostly, I just try to use my roller. So, on the edges, if it breaks, is where I'm at. So you want to get it flat, because it's not deadening the sound if it's not flat on the surface. So what I'm doing is I want to get a good base on the first layer, and then the second layer should lay down a little bit easier. But you want it to be firmly pressed against the metal, and that's how it will function properly. So if it's got air gaps on the corners, it's not doing anything for you. You want as few air gaps as you can possibly have. And so again, on this first layer, it doesn't have to look too fantastic, because I recommend at least 2 layers on your trunk lid, just because, well, in this particular situation, the Scar Audio ZVX18 version 2 that I'll be running in this trunk is going to be facing upwards, so all of that bass is going to be smashing against this trunk lid. So you want to make sure it's as sound deadened as you can get it, and that's it. Again, you can work it to be as pretty or as not pretty as you prefer, and that's the bottom line there. If you need it pretty, spend more time making it pretty. If you want it functional, it will take you less time, but you always want to make sure that everything you do looks decent. Because if you're putting your name on something, it should say, hey, I really cared about this. I didn't waste my time to do it or your time to see it. So that's where we're at. As far as sound deadening material goes, there will be voids in it like this. It doesn't go all the way through. But if you've got, so I am going to be applying it up there. And the reality is, If you have a hole there and you want to poke it through, that's fine, because the reality is you're not getting any work done if this stuff isn't butted up against metal. And so if I'm wrong about that, that's fine. That's just how I feel about it. Feel like if you're not butted right up against metal, you're not doing the work that you should be doing. I think that this stuff could work harder for you if it were butted up right against the metal. So anyway, just go into your contours and your grooves. You can see how that looks, that one particular situation. I'm going to go in and continue to mold that in, but it's all about really using that roller and getting it on properly and button it up against all the metal you can before you move along. So butt it up, make it work, and it will work great. If you're not touching metal on this sound deadener, you're not doing any work. I know I've said that 100 times, but that is what it is. So just make sure you're butting it against the metal. So that's how I recommend you go about applying your sound deadening material. And doesn't look bad, but I got a whole lot more to do. So that's how we do it. And that's the how-to video of applying Hushmat or sound deadening material to your vehicle. You wipe down with alcohol, you get everything as straight as you can get it. If you have any voids or cracks or whatever, I always recommend using your scraps to fill in the cracks, like this area right here. I'm not sure if it's coming up in the camera, but because I had to press it down so much, it broke in the edge. So if I weren't going over it with another layer, I would use some of the scraps and just basically fill in those areas so that there's no gaps of sound deadening material here. Not that it's going to cause any issues. I'm not even sure it matters, but it makes me feel better, and that's what matters to me. And that's what, well, it's my car, it's my operation, it's my, my system I'm installing, and so I've got to make those decisions. I cannot ask somebody else what their opinion is on how to do it properly, because they're probably going to have another option. They're probably going to have more ideas. They might have another way to do it, and that's how they do it. But how I do it is right here. So that's basically one sheet. And thank you guys for watching. If you have questions for me, leave it in the comments below. Or my cell phone number is 813-846-4406. Trying to build a community here, so if you need me, or if you got some advice for me, just text me. So that was how I apply sound deadening material in the inside of a vehicle. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you listening to me babble and taking the time out of your day to watch these videos. So yeah, thanks guys. Have a great day.